Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Saturday at about 1:39. Just took a lunch break, went for a drive, and on the way home, I figured I'd just swing by the local plumbing shop and see what's sitting out back. Ended up finding 2 hot water tanks, stripping the brass and the copper off of those, the little electrical wires off of those, and then I just happened to look up in the dumpster that they had there, and right on top was some copper. Some nice plumber decided to leave this for me. Got some copper, got a little piece of brass here, a couple pieces that I'll have to cut off that are number 2. The rest of that's number 1. Had another big copper pipe, and a bunch of pieces of copper that were just sitting in a box right on the edge of the dumpster. All the little brass fittings. So I'm gonna just process this up real quick and show you a quick idea of what you can make if you just do a short little stop on the way home and pick up whatever's available. So let me get this all cut up. I'll weigh it, show you the weights, and give you the amount that I made off of this just on a quick lunch run. And so we have some steel pieces here. Right here we have a big chunk of brass with a little bit of copper on the end. I'm gonna cut that off to try to get the most I can out of this load. Number 2 copper, nice piece of brass. Insulated copper wire. This is located down at the bottom of the hot water tanks. Piece of aluminum right next to that insulated copper wire in the bottom of the hot water tank. Bunch of silver bits that came off of a garbage disposal. And if you watch some other videos, the one that said tell the difference in between aluminum and stainless steel, we'll test those for this, or we'll test these for that, and then also just regular steel. So as you see, take a magnet, steel, steel, non-magnetic. So just guessing, plumbing fixture, it's going to be stainless or it's going to be aluminum. So then we take the cutoff wheel, hit it with the cutoff wheel at spark. That's going to be stainless. Found some strapping material in the dumpster. Steel. Another piece of copper off the bottom of a hot water tank. Got an aluminum can. Not going to weigh that. I just throw these off to the side, and eventually when I get enough, I'll process them. Piece of brass off the end, piece of number 2 copper because that's a little solder, and the rest of this is going to be number 1 copper. Here's a plumbing hose. It's metal. I'm going to just throw that in the steel pile. So I thought that was a brass nut on the end of that little valve, but it's stuck to the magnet, so it's just metal. Little aluminum washer, piece of steel. Same thing here, a couple of steel washers, a steel nut, aluminum washer, and piece of steel on the top. Here's a fitting that I thought for sure was brass, but it's magnetic. Puts it in the steel pile. Number 2 copper off the top of a hot water tank. So in this piece right here, we have some number 1 copper, but there's some solder runs on this side. And to me, it's not worthwhile to grind this off. So we'll put this whole piece in as number 2 copper, some brass, and another piece of number 2 copper. This is pretty clean, so if I cut it off right, I can put it in the number 1 copper pile. Again, another nice piece here, but you see the solder run here. So we have to cut it up there to get the number 1 off of it, and then cut it right there to get number 1 off of that. Here's a nice piece. Make sure you're not confusing the tarnish here or the oxidization here as solder. The solder is the silver stuff that comes down to right about here, and then everything else is just some tarnish. So this will be number 1 from there down. From here up will be number 2 copper. Same thing here, nice piece of number 1, bunch of number 2. Here's a piece where the solder's all the way down to there, all the way up to there. Not enough to even worry with cutting it, all number 2. Another piece that's gonna go in number 2. A brass fitting, a brass valve, 3 hot water pressure tank relief valves, a little piece of brass that broke off when I was unscrewing one of these. So I'm gonna take these over to the press, pull them apart, and I've got one more piece of copper cut up. Little piece of steel that was in the bottom of the box, forgot to pull that out. And a little piece of copper wire. Here's the 3 pressure relief valves that we got today. We'll tear those apart. We'll get some number 2 copper, some brass, aluminum, and steel out of them. And then it's time to weigh them in. So there's a little steel pin that holds the steel lever on. Pull that out, and you have a little washer, and you have a little piece of aluminum, has writing on it, goes on top here. So I started taking this over to the press, pressing down on here. This piece comes out, I get a piece of steel, piece of brass, and then a steel spring out of the inside, and I don't waste as much as when I was using the cut-off wheel to cut it, and I don't tear apart any cut-off wheels. It's a new way I'm doing it, and I get it to recover a little bit more. When I was doing the cut-offs, I'd always end up with a little cut-off piece of steel with brass ring on it, and that's just wasting that brass ring, putting it on the press. I don't end up wasting that. Again, you'll see here, you got the little lever, and you got the little steel pin. You got to knock this pin out and then pull it out the other side and pull that off, and all this stuff comes loose. Little pin, metal lever, little washer, aluminum washer with the writing on it. Steel pin, steel lever, steel washer, aluminum washer, and then all three of these are ready to go over to the press. Just gave it a couple little hits right there. Spring came right out. Little brass nug came out, and the brass from the body of the pressure relief valve is there. Same thing here, just gave it a little tug, piece of brass came out. Number 2 copper there, the little rod. Comes loose, number 2 copper, brass. And here's the last one. This one's a little bit more beat up. But just use a tool. I got a little wrench here with a little pry bar at the end. Put that in there, pop it loose. Spring is still spring loaded a little bit, so I've lost a little piece of steel. I'll go grab that. Brass fitting, number 2 copper rod. Here's the whole haul from the lunchtime run. We have a lot of copper, number 1 and number 2, a lot of brass, some steel, a couple of insulated copper wires in there. So I'll get this all weighed up and show you what we get. There's all our number 1 copper. 5.52. We got our number 2 copper here. 5.14, don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but 5.14 pounds. All the brass. $6.6 pounds All right, YouTube, I got everything all added up just from that lunch run. I just swung by the plumbing store and picked up the stuff, brought it home, cut it all up, and you just saw the video and all that. Weighed everything out and did prices as of the last time I ran up and dropped a bunch of metal off, which was about a week ago. Number one copper was at $3.45 a pound. Number two copper was at $3.20 a pound. Brass was at $2 a pound. Scrap steel was at 10 cents a pound. And adding it all up, I ended up, after subtracting the weight of the bucket, I had 3.28 pounds of copper, number one copper, for $11.32. 2.9 pounds of number two copper at $3.20 a pound, ends up being $9.28. The brass was 4.36 pounds, $2 a pound, equals $8.72. Steel was selling at 10 cents a pound, had 1.84, so 18 cents there. Ends up with $29.50 just out of that stuff. And I had two hot water tanks that I brought home with me. I'm estimating those at about 100 pounds each, and at 10 cents a pound, get 20 bucks there. So just stopping by the plumbing supply place, ended up with $49.50, less than 30 minutes worth of work. It's a fine place to pick up stuff, start picking it up, make a little bit of extra money, pay for your lunch, pay for your dinner, or just save it up. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share these videos.